This is Savvy Wisdom,
the heart-to-heart podcast you didn't know you needed.
hosted by Dr. Tamika Sanders and Cheyennis. Savvy Wisdom is a monthly interactive podcast for women who value their well-being and growth that highlights the unique challenges women face daily.
We talk about the relevant issues, their impact to our well-being, share expert insights, best practices, and provide resources and support for your journey right along with you. Dr. Tamika Sanders has 20 years of experience working with schools and businesses in the areas of training and development, public programming, and leadership development. Her work revolves around bringing a diversity of real-world perspectives into programming initiatives and creating strategic community partnerships that can generate revenue and provide access to resources and opportunities for marginalized groups.
Cheyennis is a multi-talented Cali creative with 20-plus years of extensive banking experience, with a proven track record for driving transformative change and fostering a culture of excellence through process improvement, DEI, strategy planning, and program management. She is also an entrepreneur and focused on intentional well-being with multiple offerings that allow her clients to connect, learn, inspire, and grow.
Most of us have been raised with this image of needing to be a strong, resilient, and independent woman who is driven to succeed and devoted to those around her. And while that appears like a legacy to be proud of, if balance and well-being are neglected, we may find ourselves in need of serious saving.
In today's episode, we'll explore the Superwoman Syndrome and its root causes, learn how to recognize when we're operating in that mode, and understand what's at stake if we don't find balance. We'll also explore what this looks like from different perspectives, discover some best practices to help ourselves, do a little self-healing, reflect on things that we've learned so that we can do better, set some intentions on what we want to put into practice, and also some resources that will allow us to manifest the intentions we set.
I am so glad that this is our first episode. When you first told me about the concept and you put it out there, Superwoman Syndrome, I was like, what's that all about? So I did some digging on it, and I actually ended up finding a definition for this Superwoman Syndrome. It refers to a phenomenon where a woman strives to achieve perfection in all spheres of her life and ends up feeling overwhelmed and highly stressed. And I think that that's a really good synopsis of what this syndrome is. I didn't even realize that, oh my gosh, I may be operating in this, or that it necessarily applied to me. But yeah, what made you even think of this, for us to kind of start off with?
You know what? It's, I think growing up with my mom, who was pretty much kind of like a single parent for a lot of kind of my childhood until we got into like the 5th or 6th grade, I just was always surrounded with this strong Black woman that, by choice, right? It wasn't an option. She just had to do it all. She had to be mom. She had to be dad. She had to be everything. And I kind of, that became the normal for me. So in my life, I started seeing all of these amazing women, a lot of them Black, but a lot of them not Black, but just women, period, all shapes and sizes, all going through that same Superwoman syndrome, where by choice or just by option, that they are carrying it and doing it all. And it's killing us, right? It really is killing us. And so I wanted to bring it up, and I'm so glad we get to talk about it today and just really explore.
Yes. And so part of that exploration, led to us, coming up with this poll and questions for reflection for the women in our lives. So do you have multiple roles that often conflict with one another and require your attention? Are you the one in your family or social group that everyone relies upon for emotional, financial, and other tangible support? Now, these next three, are the ones that that just resonated most with women. And that was, do you often jump in to assist even when it puts a strain on you? Um, do you often attempt to handle life's challenges on your own? When you're feeling stressed, depressed, or upset, do you routinely keep your feelings inside and just push through it to handle your responsibilities? And then the last two were, do you often find yourself taking on more than you can reasonably handle out of obligation to helping others? And then do you always seem to come last on your to-do list? I actually took some time out to like reflect on these things for myself and realize, oh my goodness, I feel so incredibly attacked. What did you think when you really kind of started digging into this for yourself?
Oh same thing. I was just like, why are they in my life? Why are they in my street? Get out my
Right?
street, right? Because all of those things, when I'm stressed, when I have things and maybe I have a hard time saying no because I'm really good at a lot of things and I love helping people, but then I'm overwhelmed and I'm stressed out and I'm mad that I helped. And then I end up trying to relax and then I don't have time for me. There was this really great episode or this workshop that I got to take part of. And the facilitator asked all of these women, she said, hey, yeah, if you have, think about your time in a percentage of time and how much time do you devote to other people and how much time do you have just for yourself. And I remember
Mm.
looking at that and going, oh my gosh, I'm really only devoting maybe 90 to 95% of that time was really devoted to other people,
Oh,
my family, my work, my other obligations, and then maybe 5 to 10% was for me.
wow.
And that it was a wake up call and I had to stop for a moment. And I remember going home to my husband. I was like, asking him, I was like, babe, when you think about the percentage of your time, what's your percentage for that you give to other people and what's your percentage? And he said about 60-40. And
Ooh.
so I was like, are you kidding me? 60% of your time you devote and you're getting 40% of your time to yourself. I was like, this isn't fair, right? And so I told him my percentage and we both laughed and he said, hey, let's look at all of the things that you're doing
Mm,
and really see where I can help you. And he said, what percentage would you like to get to? And I was like, I'd love to get to 60-40 like you, but realistically, probably
mm.
70-30 is going to be better for me. And I think that is a good goal. And we started delegating and he showed me where I could cut out things, where I had to say no, but I
Ooh.
reached that and but I luckily I had help, right?
Yeah.
Shy, you're single. You don't have that.
Yeah.
So when you think about the percentage of time you give to yourself and your others, what is
Mm.
that for you? And how would you even go about like
Yeah.
changing that?
Yeah, that's definitely something that I am currently working on. I'm actually creating the wild thing with this is I'm also in the process of like creating an app because I want to get a better understanding of how it is that I'm spending my time because I know I'm spending a lot of time like in the creative mode, spending a lot of time in the professional mode, spending time, giving back to the community, spending time on my fitness. In my mind, I feel like I am spending time on me because it's actually like me focusing on the different dimensions of my well being. But in terms of just time for me, where it's like, okay, this isn't something that's an obligation or like an assignment that's due. Uh, if I were to eyeball it, I'm probably spending maybe 5 to 10 minutes like on the like, okay, this is just your time, girl, for you and you alone. Although, actually, you know what? That just reminded me. So a few weeks ago, I read that humans need at least one day out of the week that is their designated lazy day. And so for the last couple of weeks, I've been putting that into practice, and it just so happens that Saturdays are the best day of the week for that. Although this past Saturday, I did end up spending time, connecting with women and helping them with things that, some helping them with solutions they were trying to work out. But it still felt like, okay, I still got to control my day, right? I still got to, it was my choice and I wasn't spending all of my day doing that. And I was just chilling, like, all right, I'm just going to be sitting on my couch while I'm talking to you.
Yeah. But you know what's funny about that and sad though, that women, whether we're single or we're married or in relationships, we usually are still doing the bulk, especially if you have, kids or significant others, you're still
Yeah.
doing the bulk of that what I call household work, scheduling doctor's appointments, cleaning, taking care of the kiddos, like all of those things. Even if you have a partner, that's amazing. You're still doing those things, and it can be really stressful. Not to mention the demands that your career might be having,
Yeah.
wanting to have time to spend with your girlfriends and other, things. You start feeling really overwhelmed. And I remember we were talking about this, Shy. We were just looking in the media and we were like, you know what? There's a lot of just celebrities. Last year
Yes.
alone, you had Simone Biles and what's our tennis player? Her name as well.
Naomi Osaka.
Naomi.
Yes.
Yes, they both skipped the Olympics. They made it, qualified, and said, you know what? I am taking this break from my own mental sanity. And I loved that.
Yeah.
And, some people were upset, with them for that. But a lot
Mm-hmm.
of people were like, good for you. Take that time. Because if we drain ourselves and we run ourselves ragged, we're no good to anybody, right?
Yeah.
So it's something we think about all the time, but it's whether you have money, you have no money, you have lots of support or no support. It is something that plagues women a lot more than men, unfortunately, where we're doing it all by ourselves. And again, some is by choice because it's just you. You don't have a
It's
support
like,
system, and sometimes you're in a relationship and you're still taking the bulk of that. So,
man.
what are some things we can do?
You know what? We are definitely going to get into that. But what I really was curious about is like, what's causing this? Like, why are we feeling like we have to operate in this mode? And when I started kind of digging into the research, what I came across is that, okay, so we live in a world that seeks to make us feel small, limit our freedom and opportunities. And we want to feel important. We want to feel unbreakable. We want to feel needed. And yet, as women, there's also this like idea of softness and vulnerability that we feel we're not even afforded. And while the root of most, if not all of these causes is racism, sexism, and misogyny, I call it RSM. Each of these causes can exacerbate the next until it becomes this vicious cycle of self sabotage in the name of preservation, even in the absence of those physical RSM triggers. And so it's really interesting to me because then what's really happening here is you're going into this like reaction, this protection mode of, okay, I have this, really strong determination, to succeed. I need to suppress my emotions. I feel obligated to appear strong, right? There's a resistance to being vulnerable or dependent on others, and even feeling obligated to help others. And so it's like, okay, so that's the action, right? Then what is like driving that? It's either you lack a support system to help you, or you lack trust in the support system that you have, or you're unskilled in knowing how to ask for help. And when we did this poll, I was finding that most of the women did not really know how to ask for help. And that's wild
Mm,
because here we are helping everybody but ourselves. And yet it's just
yeah.
like we're helping people without them having to ask. And yet we don't know how to ask for help. How does that work? Like the math ain't mathed.
You know what? But it's real. Think about it. If you're the person that people come to for things,
Yeah.
you may feel really awkward and insecure and just unsure of
Mm,
who you can actually ask, because people are going to go, what, you need help? I mean, you've got it all
yeah.
together. And usually
Yeah.
we appear strong and confident, like we're doing it all, but
Ooh.
on the inside we may be literally falling apart, but we don't ask
Yeah.
for help. And there's other
Ooh.
times, especially in the workplace, where we sometimes asking for help, especially as women in that kind of male dominated thing, you asking for help can seem like you're not qualified. You can't handle the workload or the job. And so again, we're suffering in silence, right? And
Yeah.
I remember when we went to Afrotech, Shy, and we got to hear um,
Isa.
Issa Rae, thank you. We got to hear Issa Rae talking, and even Issa Rae was like, you know what? I'm still fighting to get into rooms, but she's like, I also need to do better with asking for help. She was like, there are
Yeah.
people willing and capable that come to me, but I turn them away like, I got it, you know? And she's like, I need to stop doing that. I need to, what you say, blocking my blessings, right? If people are
Yes.
reaching out with good intentions, we have to be able to let them in. But trust shy, that's my biggest one. I think why I'm not good at asking for help because I
Yeah.
don't always trust that the person is going to do the task the way I would do it. And so
Yeah.
I'll say, ah, or maybe it would take too long to teach them the task
Yeah.
that, you know, I'm trying to delegate to them. And so for me, that trust is a big thing. And I have to tell myself, like, you know what? Good leaders delegate. You delegate.
Yeah.
And you have to be willing and being okay with someone not doing the task exactly the way you would, but maybe they do
Yeah.
it better. Maybe they do it different, and that's okay.
Yeah.
It's still getting done and it's off your plate. So trust for me is a big one. Which one of those is a big one for you when
You
you're
know,
thinking about the syndrome and the root cause for you?
yeah, I feel like for me, it I had to get real with myself about, wait, do I even have a proper support system? And I don't want to get too much into this because that's actually going to be the topic of our next episode where we're going to really dig into, creating healthy support systems, and I'm so excited about that. But, it's just really taking stock of, wait a minute, like who's in my life that I can reach out to, and also do they know that, like, maybe they are potentially filling that role. That's another
Mhm.
thing for me. And then I'll just say, like, for myself, being single, not just literally being an island of one, um especially even like during the holidays, like I've maybe had some times where I was having an emotional day or something that I was struggling with internally, and I felt like, oh well, it's the holidays and everyone's busy doing all of their family plans and all that stuff, so like, I don't want to like bring down this spirit. And so like I'm just literally like having this whole like battle internally because I'm afraid of ruining someone's day, or just again, these things that we tell ourselves. And I know that it goes back to those stressors and those threats of, like, maybe you've had a situation where you reached out to someone and they weren't supportive, maybe, or they were not supportive, or maybe someone, you've experienced betrayal, or you've experienced being let down, and so it's like, okay, well, I've learned from the last time. This is what happened the last time. So we know not to do that again. But like, that's kind of dangerous, right? Because we are not fortune tellers, even though it's like you could be pretty confident in patterns and behaviors, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to be the reality going forward. And so, for me, I know the big struggle is going to be breaking out of that. But that's why I'm so glad that we're doing this. I'm so glad that we're going to have our sister circle so we can really just kind of share with each other, like, what are the things that you do when you find yourself operating in this mode, and how can we do better? How can we know better, and how can we do better for ourselves? How can we create, the support systems that we so clearly need?
Mhm. And get some of these this weight off our shoulders, right? It is
Yes.
draining carrying wearing that superwoman cape all the time and
It's
feeling like you
heavy.
have to do it all on your own. And
Yeah.
we need that support. And we need a circle,
Yeah.
our sister circle. We need that group around us to just say,
Yes.
give us options on things that we might not have tried before, didn't even think were options for us. Because again, you're right. Once we know better, we usually do better. So.
Yes. And here's the wild thing, if you spent any amount of time in an office or corporate America, like, these are things that we have learned. You touched upon it earlier, like, okay, good leaders delegate, within reason, right? Because we know the pitfalls. We know the pitfalls of that very well, right? Of getting voluntold for things. So it's like we don't want to volunteer people to do things. But it's just interesting, like I'm starting to realize, like, you can apply those same concepts to your life though, right? It doesn't have to just stay within, the office, whether it's physical or remote. um and so then that's the other thing, like, so how does Superwoman syndrome affect you? Because it's like, okay, so we know why it's happening, we know, we may now have a little bit of awareness, or like this consciousness of like how it of what it is that we're doing, but are we really conscious of how it's showing up in us? And I'll just say, like, the two major ones for me, and where I know that I'm operating in this mode, is memory loss. Because I just have so many things that I'm compartmentalizing and managing as a woman, as a Black woman, as just as whatever hats that I'm, putting on, professionally or otherwise, right? And then that second one is, neglecting personal needs, including self care. So, like, my skin is absolutely going through it, girl. My skin is going through it. And I was like, dang, like, I am not B2K. Like, what is up with all this bump, bump, bump? Like, girl, get it together. And I am going to get it together right after I finish like these 10 million things, right? But what does it look like for you?
Oh, that is, yeah. Self-care, definitely. When I'm really busy, I could go all day without drinking or eating anything, maybe like a cup of coffee. And then I get home and later I'm like, oh my gosh, I haven't eaten all day. And I'm just, and I'm fine. And then I'm like, oh, now my head hurts. This explains why I have a headache. Duh, I haven't eaten all day. But
Yes.
when it's really bad, I can't sleep. It's like, I'll go to bed, my eyes are
Oh.
closed, but my brain is still going through the millions of tasks that I need to get done that have not
Ooh.
been done yet. And so I don't eat, so which means I'm, again, that's self-care. I'm neglecting myself and my own personal needs, and then I'm not sleeping, which compounds it. Those two things really, if they're prolonged, they can be really, really bad for your health. So yeah, that's how it shows
Yeah.
up in me. And when I know I can't sleep, I'm usually I know I'm in trouble. I'm like, all right, I need to get some of this off my plate, or I need to get it done, because then I
Yes.
usually get sick.
You also become irritable, there's, of course, there's anxiety, there's an inability to concentrate. And again, like you're saying, like compounding, it's like, okay, so we're not eating very well, we're not sleeping very well, and then we think we're just going to get through this next day as if like everything got reset. It doesn't reset. It doesn't just reset itself if you don't do the things to take care of yourself, right? And then it can lead to like real serious, health issues. Like, okay, there are multiple serious health issues like heart disease, diabetes, obesity, and what is this? Gastrointestinal conditions. And those are very serious. I really don't want those problems. Like, pick a struggle, right? But the one for me is early aging, and being team, black don't crack, like that's enough for me to be like, okay, let me get it together, because dealing with acne and aging again, like, I don't need that. I don't need those problems on my plate, right?
Right. Agreed. It's like you don't want to be feeling bad and looking bad. Just like, hold on, let's
Man,
pick
because
one.
again,
Pick one.
and then you're back on that hamster wheel of, okay, now I got to add to my daily responsibilities, fixing what I've broken, within myself, because I wasn't taking care of myself.
Yeah. And you know what? When it's really bad, my daughter, I've got my twins, my 9-year-old boy girl twins. My daughter is like my mini me. And if she sees me like being
Yes.
really short, I'm not eating, I'm snapping at folks, she'll just put her little hand on my shoulder and say, Mom, go take a nap. You need to rest. And then I just have to look at
Ooh,
her.
I love
I'm like, my
that.
little 9-year-old baby's being the mama and she's taking
Oh,
care of me because she's realizing this is not how my mom acts. This is not her. Something must be wrong. You need to take a break, go take a nap. And I love her for that. And then my husband will just look at her if
yes.
he hears and he's like, good job. Good job, Israel. Tell mom to take care of herself. So it's like, but I'm lucky I have
Yeah.
those people, that tell me that, but yeah, you're all
Oh,
by
yeah.
yourself, right? When you are in that mode, what do you do, or what can you do to just make yourself go, hey, I need to tone it, I need to, tone it down because
Yeah.
I'm overwhelmed, I'm stressed. What are some
Yeah.
things for you that kind of give you that wake up call?
So I was thinking about this because for me I tend to be very process focused and very like systemic in my thinking, right? So I was thinking maybe there's like a phrase that I can tell myself, almost like a safe word, if I can just embed that with myself. And here's what I thought. So you know that song by Lil Mo, Superwoman? So
Yeah.
I was thinking like maybe what I just say to myself is da 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 damn, like like maybe that's how I like maybe that's how I help myself to realize like girl, get it together, like what are you doing? And I know that sounds really, silly, but I'm thinking maybe if I make it something funny like that, it'll help me to kind of snap out of it. And then again, that's also where I'm just so looking forward to engaging with our beautiful sisters within our circle so that we can just get some more ideas about this and maybe even find some accountability partners to kind of check in with and to help us and kind of bring us back to reality, right?
Yeah.
But I would say, like, aside from that, it's really just having that self awareness. I've been much more conscious about when because I do get anxiety, right? And so I've been much more conscious about when I feel, my heart is just racing, like when I'm just feeling like that tightness within my chest. That's honestly like the first sign that I know that, like, okay, something is not in alignment right now. And when I feel that, I just need to stop and breathe and just like acknowledge that. And then, acknowledge what mode I'm operating in, acknowledge what is the fear or the belief that may be driving that, like, oh, I don't have anyone or whatever it is, right? And let's like dispel that myth. And maybe it also means going back to the root of what started that myth. And it's like, okay, this was the root of it. That was a reality then. But guess what? I have the option and I have the freedom and the opportunity to change my reality. So
Yeah.
that's kind of how I'm approaching it. But I'm just really curious to see like what else we learn through this. And, just kind of speaking about that, like, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, let's get into some of these like initial best practices that we can try. Um, you wanna take this?
Yeah. A
Yeah.
couple that I've learned along the way, because again, I've got so many women in my life that suffer from Superwoman Syndrome, but
Yeah.
delegating, they've learned really well how to delegate. And now, because of all this virtual AI stuff, and just virtual
Ooh.
technology, period, there's virtual assistants. There is where, they'll help. There's virtual marketing people that, if marketing
Oh
is not your
yeah.
thing, virtual accounting. So it's like, if like myself, you and I, we're small business owners, right? We're entrepreneurs. We do a lot of
Yeah.
that. Sometimes those are hats that I don't really want to wear. I have to starting
Yeah.
out, but once you have a little bit more money, you've got some flexibility, those are things that you can start delegating, where you can pay people a
Yeah.
fee, and they'll do your assistant. They'll schedule your things. Calendly, is a really great one for scheduling
Yeah.
appointments. You put the link out there and people will schedule that on your calendar themselves. But the virtual assistants and the virtual marketing assistants, I've used
Yeah.
those, and it is so amazing, where I just tell them, hey, I want this amount of ads, for the next
Yeah.
month or two. And here's kind of the things that I want to say. And boom, they're doing it for me. And I just have to be aware that it's out there and make sure I'm sharing and posting and liking. And completely, the next thing I'm going to be doing is the virtual accountant to help, because tax is coming around, all of those things. And
Ooh.
I'm a people person. I can do numbers, but too much of it's gonna really it's gonna really stress me out. So those are some of the really neat things. And Fiverr is one of the sites that you can go to
Ah.
for people that just do just all kind of services, whether it's building your website, or it's helping out with an app, or setting up a community. Like there's so many great things, and the fees are not expensive. Some people have really great fees, so you don't have to make a fortune to be able to afford them. So those are some of the things that I'm trying, and delegating. That's one way for me to just get it off my plate so I
Hmm.
can spend my energy on the things that give me joy, that give me energy, and less on those things that feel like they're just draining me. What about you? What are some things you're
Yeah.
trying out?
So for a big one for me is letting go of perfectionism. That is a really, really, really hard one for me because it's something that has been ingrained, it's something that has definitely been ingrained in me. And I understand why, but I also understand, that concept of perfectionism and just like having it all together, like may have gotten me to a pretty good point in my journey, but that is not going to serve me in the next part of my journey. That's not necessarily something that is sustainable. And I tend to get like kind of caught up in paralysis of analysis or decision making when I'm kind of trapped in that like perfectionism. And then again, that ends up impacting my capacity. It ends up, impacting my time. I really love those options that you were talking about, though, in terms of professional help. Because when I think of professional help, I think of maybe going to see a therapist, right? But there are other types of professional help. And I know with my current situation, I didn't necessarily have the luxury of paying others to do the things. So it was like, all right, I'm creating my website and I'm having to learn and figure this all out, like, for myself. And it's like so exciting, but like it would have been much more helpful if I did have, other people to ask for help. And I am going to start doing that a little bit more now that I've at least gotten the foundation of all of these different creations out of my head and like onto the into the virtual world, right?
Yeah.
um Setting realistic expectations. So one of the 5 or 6 different learning journeys that I'm in right now for certifications was, talking about, it was literally just this morning as I was getting ready, and it talked about setting SMART goals. Because again, like in my head, I've got like this Gantt chart. Actually, I don't think it's organized that way, but I've got like a Gantt chart of like all of these projects and learning programs and journeys and certifications and business and this and that. And it's like, you do realize, like, you think you're going to finish all these things by March. How? Where? Like, you're borrowing from Peter to pay Paul.
Yeah.
And that payment's going to be coming due pretty soon.
Yeah, delegating would be good for you too, but I know another one for me is like asking for help. Just like Issa Rae was
Yeah.
saying, there are people that I know that I have in my probably my circle that would be amazing people to help, but we don't ask for it. And I remember when and again, it's because we're strong women, right? We're not going to go to somebody like, oh, woe is
Yeah.
me, with our hand out and our head
Yeah.
down. But you know what
Yeah.
asking for help could sound like, is the new consulting, my business that I have with consulting. I can say, you know what, this year, literally for both of us, like our whole kind of career,
Yeah.
kind of like our company just went under, and we both had to kind of
Yeah.
rebuild and find new kind of careers.
Yeah.
And so it could sound something like, hey, you know what? This year's been really hard with having to start over, but
Yeah.
I've got a new consulting thing, and it's doing business and educational consulting. And hey, if you know some folks looking for consulting in leadership or coaching or this,
Yeah.
please send them my way. That's a good call for help without asking for
Yeah.
money for that, but you're letting them know I have a service. If you know people that need it, let
Yeah.
me know, right? And so, as they say,
Yeah.
closed mouths don't get fed. You got to tell people. And
Whew.
and for us as strong women, and all of you listening to this, we do not like asking for help, but find a way to ask for it in a way that
Yeah.
feels like what you're offering is it's helping someone else at the same time, right? Because me saying I have this
Oh,
service, and hey, if you can use this service, let me know, it's a two-way street.
Yeah.
So you're really helping someone, and it's also helping you. But make sure you ask, and those people, qualified people in your life that are offering you help and support, let them trust that they have the best
Yes.
intentions in mind. Trust that they're offering it from their, again, with good intentions, and that they're going to help you and put you
Yeah.
where you need to be. Or they're going to do the task, maybe not
Yeah.
exactly the way you would, but it's also a task that's going to get done, and it's one that you no longer have to manage in that way. So that's my two big ones: is trust, delegate, and ask for help. Those are the ones that I'm really, really going to take into the coming year.
I love that. And I just got this, as you were talking about that, I got this flashback to our first Afro Tech last year, where Chameleonaire was talking about when he goes to, what is it, the VC,
Yeah.
to the venture capitalist and investors. And it's like, okay, you don't want to just say, can you help me create this website? It's, okay, I have purchased my domain. I have a home page, and this is what I've been able to do so far with just what I had, just with these limited tools. And if I had your assistance in this area, this is how it can continue to grow.
Exactly.
So I'm trying to remember those gems, because he drops a lot of gems during that fireside chat.
Yeah.
So that's like kind of one way. And I think we could definitely drop those in the sister circle, like maybe some helpful, like, scripts to start out, or templates, if you will, which kind of then leads me to that concept of knowing better and doing better, right? So I'm going to kind of start here, like, okay, so I have learned, I have learned that I have been living in a state of defense out of fears stemming from real and perceived threats. I know that this is not sustainable. I know this is not a sustainable state to be in. And I know that I can do something about it because I am not alone. So this month, I intend to let go of perfections,
Mm.
and I intend to ask for help. And you're going to see that in the sister circle, because we're going to be holding ourselves accountable, right?
Oh, I love that. Accountability is everything. So let's see.
Yeah.
What I have learned is that I am notorious at saying no to people. So I also don't always trust that people are going to show up for me the way that I show up for them. And
Yeah.
also that I do need to make sure that I am taking that time for me, just me. And so what you will see me doing in the coming year is saying no, and just a simple no explanation, but just not clouding the
Yeah.
free time, that 30% of time that I did get back for myself, not taking away from that by doing other things for other people, really making sure that I'm focusing on me. But saying no,
Yeah.
and being okay, delegating more things, whether it's virtually or building my team of folks to help me out.
I love this. And we are going to be dropping some resources. So we know from a professional standpoint, there, and I'll drop those links. There's Coaches of Color Collective, if you want to go that route. There's Therapy for Black Girls, which has a whole directory. So they've already kind of curated for you. From a social aspect, there are communities to join, like our Facebook group, the Savvy Wisdom Podcast Sister Circle. And from an educational standpoint, because there is still some internal work that we need to do, and we can do that by building our mental fitness. And so, something that I'm going to be embarking on next month, and really excited about, is learning about positive intelligence and building the mental fitness, so that when I'm finding myself, in a decision making point or a challenge, instead of going to that default of feeling threatened or feeling the fear, I can, tap into that prefrontal cortex and activate my sage power, so that I can innovate, so that I can explore, so that I can navigate, and I can actually be thriving instead of drowning, and feeling like, oh my gosh, like, help.
Definitely. I am looking forward to all of you joining us in our sister circle, us growing and sharing and building. And again, if you like the resources and the videos and the advice that we give, please share and also invite others to join us as well, because the more the merrier. And that's what we want to do, is be able to continue to grow and make sure that we're meeting all the needs of our diverse identities that we carry as women, right?
Absolutely. And so I know, we say this is the heart to heart podcast that you didn't know you needed, but I'm going to say it's also the heart to heart podcast that I didn't know I needed. And I'm really looking forward. I'm really looking forward to what we're able to just do together as we continue on this beautiful journey of womanhood.
Right. And that's what we want to do, is we want to explore, connect, and inspire you, but inspiring you also inspires us because we are you.
Yes.
So thank you all so much for joining us. And we so look forward to
Yay.
seeing everything,
Yay.
seeing your responses to our poll, sharing resources, and just growing with us. Thank you.
Yes. All right, girl.
Here's how to connect with me for any of your business or educational consulting needs.
Here's how to connect with me for any of your business and individual needs.
We hope you connect with us on Facebook and Instagram.
Next time on Savvy Wisdom, the importance of support systems. We all need support, but we may not always know how to get the support we need or communicate that we do in fact need it.
Join us as we discuss what support systems look like, how to evaluate them, and tips for creating sustainable support networks.